What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Afro Academic. I'm Britt, and I'm a computer science major in New York City. And this whole summer, I'm focused on getting better at my coding, specifically LeetCode and Python, so that I can pass the technical interview online assessment and the actual in-person technical interviews for big tech companies. So my channel and what I'm doing is dedicated to doing practice mock interviews on LeetCode style easy questions. So the whole idea and concept is for you to code along with me if you want to also get better at your coding in preparation for these coding interviews at big tech. So how the format will work, I'm going to have the problem on the screen. You'll see my iPad and you'll see my IDE. I'm using VS Code. So I recommend you open up your IDE, whether you're using VS Code, Codio, Spider. Those are just a few that I've used. Open it up, code along with me. These are very, very basic problems. I'll be coding in Python, but you can code in Java if that, or C++ or C if that works for you. Whatever, code along with me. There will also be a 45-minute timer, and the 45-minute timer is very specific because that's around the time you'll be giving an actual coding interview to code the problem. So I'm going to literally do it as a mock interview, as if I am in a real live interview. So in the chat, drop feedback, drop how you may have coded something differently and what you would do, and we're going to go ahead and get started now and scene. All right, thank you so much for having me here at this interview. I'm gonna start, I have the problem here up, and I'm just gonna start by just reading the problem out loud. Okay, so check for symmetry in post titles. As part of a new feature in your social media platform, you want to highlight post titles that are symmetrical, meaning they read the same forwards and backwards when ignoring spaces, punctuation, and cases. Given a post title as a string, use a new algorithm technique, the two-pointer method, to determine if the title is symmetrical. And we're given this as an example use case. So, a Santa at NASA. Is this symmetrical? It is, true. Okay. The second is social media. That's not symmetrical. So, by symmetrical, I'm wondering if it's meaning is a palindrome. So I'm just gonna write out on my on my iPad here if that's what it's meaning with a Santa. So ASANTA at NASA. So ASSAANNTTA. Oh, cool. Okay. So essentially this is the palindrome problem. Great. That's what I am understanding. So I'm just going to read it through a second time silently to myself as I take notes on my iPad to just try to understand it. Okay. So what I'm picking up on so far as my task is to essentially determine if this string, this input string, is a palindrome. Now I'm trying to understand this idea of ignoring spaces, punctuation, and cases. Okay, so essentially if we were to remove all spaces, punctuation, and ignoring the case. So uppercase S will still be considered the same as a lowercase s, is my understanding. And we're going to remove punctuation, doesn't matter. So essentially if a Santa at NASA, if there was a punctuation mark after at, for example, we would ignore that punctuation mark. Okay. Given a post title as a string, use a new algorithmic technique, the two-pointer method, to determine if the title is symmetrical. Okay, and then so the way that we're going to approach this, or the technique you'd like for me to use in this problem is the two-pointer method. All right, I think I understand here. So I'm just going to type out my understanding here on in the IDE. Okay, and return true if palindrome, return false if not. Okay, excellent. So my understanding is you would like me to use the two-pointer technique to determine if a string is a palindrome. Return true if it is a palindrome, or return false if it is not. Is my understanding aligned with the expectations of this problem? Okay, thank you. So now I'm going to actually think about some potential edge cases here. Should I code for could the string possibly be empty, the string that I'm given? Okay, thank you. So I will code as an edge case, empty input string. Wonderful. And we talked about how obviously we'll have to ignore spaces, punctuation, and cases. So can I assume that I may be given some input that does contain some punctuation in spaces and cases? And though, okay, it's punctuation and, well, let me ask, punctuation. Should I assume that I'll be given input string that will contain punctuation? Yes, okay. So I will factor in edge cases that punctuation in string. I'm just going to say punctuation is possible in string, must be ignored. And we also mentioned here, is it possible that the input will contain numbers? And are the numbers a part of the symmetry? So if there's a number within this, should I consider that in the palindrome or ignore the number? Okay, so I'll ignore the number. Thank you. Okay, and obviously case doesn't matter either. So I'm gonna say, for my understanding, ignore. I'm gonna say what doesn't matter. I'm going to say, actually, I'm just going to say not case sensitive. It is not case sensitive. I'm going to say spaces don't count in determining palindrome. And also we mentioned punctuation does not count. And just, if I have extra time, I'll put here, ignore numbers in string if given. Okay, excellent. So that's the understanding. Now I'm actually going to move on to thinking about the pseudocode here. Alright, and I'm going back to my iPad now just to take some notes. So I understand you want this to be done using the 2-pointer technique is what we have. So I'm just going to draw out, again, write out the string here, a Santa at NASA. And if I'm using the 2-pointer technique, I'm going to start my left pointer at capital A, start my, because punctuation doesn't matter, I'm actually going to change this whole string to lowercase. So I'm going to use dot lower to make entire string lowercase because punctuation doesn't lowercase. Okay, we'll just do it like that. So I'll make the entire string lowercase, and then I have my pointer, my left pointer will start at index 0. My right pointer will start at the last index. And then, so with that being said, I know I'm going to initialize a left pointer at index 0. And then I'm going to initialize a right pointer at basically the length of the string minus 1, which is aka the last index. Okay, and I'm going to compare the characters at those two. I'm going to loop through, I'm going to for loop through the string. I'm going to compare characters at left and right pointer. If characters are the same, if they are the same, great. I want to then advance the pointers. So if they are the same, advance pointers. So my left pointer goes up 1 index, so my left pointer plus 1 index, and then my right point, my left pointer goes from A to S, and then my left pointer gets incremented up, and then my right pointer will be incremented down. So my right pointer goes on the right from A to the S in NASA. So minus 1 in the index number. Okay. We're going to repeat this for loop process if the characters are not the same. Oh, I do know that something we definitely need to handle is cases where the string isn't split evenly in half. So in this case, we have A, S, S, A, N, T, T, A. But what if there was literally like, let me change the color. What if there was literally like an S right here? We would run into an issue because my left pointer, it would create an issue because the left pointer would try to move, the right pointer would try to move. I guess they would be in the same spot. So I can add a condition that says Oh, I need to tell it when to stop. Oh, wait a second. So maybe instead of a for loop, I need to maybe say while the left pointer is less than or equal to the right pointer. And if the pointers are the same, that's fine because that can capture S. Okay, so instead of a for loop, I believe I'm going to do a while loop so that I can say use while loop to loop through the string while left pointer is less than or equal to right pointer. I'm so sorry it was like 100 degrees in New York City today. It is 100 degrees, so it is swelteringly hot. So I'm just drinking water to cool off. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna X-nay on the for loop idea actually. And the while loop, I'm intending for that to capture if there's this center element. Fine. Now, if the characters are not the same, return false. Simple as that. Because if the characters are not the same, then I know that that's not a palindrome. And then at the very end, return true. Because if it makes it past all of that, if it comes out of the while loop without being false, then we know it is a palindrome. Ah. Okay, so with that being said, I am going to now go ahead and start my actual implementation. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to just copy in the test cases that you gave, and then also I will add in those extra test cases. Let's go ahead and add our edge cases here, which were we said our edge cases were lines 11, 12, 13. We need to account for if it's an empty string, and if it's an empty string, is it okay if I just return true for the empty string? Essentially, it's the same forwards and backwards. Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna put should return true. Okay. And then our other edge case was if there was punctuation in the string. That is something that I need to account for. I will add that in later after I test some of the happy cases here. I can add it in now. I think it's just a simple, I can use the is alpha. I believe I can use is alpha. So basically I'm going to take this a Santa at NASA, and if I add a punctuation, it still should return true. So for now, I'm just going to work with testing our first test case here, which we know should return true because it is a palindrome, or as the problem says, symmetrical back and forth. So return true. This one should return false. Okay, excellent. Now I am ready. All right. Okay, so what I stated here, our plan starts in line 15. I'm going to first use dot lower to make the entire string lowercase. So I think I'm going to do title dot lower. Okay, and I'm just going to print title to see if it went to dot lower. And I am using just the terminal bash commands to run the file here. Okay, that didn't work, so I'll just run it there. It did not lower. It did not lower. I'm still getting all caps. So, and I'm actually just gonna test. I do think I need to use that lower because I don't think. I do think that Python sees capital S as different from lowercase s and capital A. So I want to just say if A, to test it out, I'm just going to say if A equals A, print hey, else print yes, else, oh wow, why was it? It does not like, oh, I think I have to use that. Quotations. Okay, else we're gonna print no. Okay, let's test this out here. No. Okay, exactly as I thought. So Python does see capital A and lowercase a as different. So I will need to utilize the dot lower. So let me give that another try actually. So, okay, so title dot lower. Maybe I need to store in a variable. Title is a string. Oh, so maybe lower goes in the center. I mean, in the parenthesis, in the argument. Let me test it out. I'm gonna call it lowercase. Lowercase title. And let me just print lowercase title. Try to run it in the terminal again. I didn't save this as a Python file. I'll just run it without doing it in the terminal. Ah, perfect. Okay, that worked. Line 34 works excellent because I got A, Santa, and NASA all lowercase. Period. Okay, now I am going to, what's our next step? Line 17, I'm going to initialize a left pointer at index 0. And 18, initialize a right pointer. Okay, so let me go ahead and, honestly, I want to go ahead right now before, like on line 34, and just capture this test case where the string is empty. So I'm going to say if length of title, you know what's also a palindrome? Is if it has just one character. So I do need to add that as an edge case. Okay, so if it's just one character, that's also going to return true. So if it's literally just A, that is the same forwards and backwards. Also a palindrome. Okay, so I'm going to say if title is less than or equal to 1, equal less than 1. Is that the wrong syntax? It looks weird, but okay. If title less than equal to 1, we're going to return true. I'm just going to test that right now. Okay, so okay, return true. Excellent. Okay, so both line 46 and 47 test cases work. All right, cool. So that captures those. We're good on that. So I'm gonna I've tested those, so we're good on that one. Let me actually just move that test case up a little higher. All right. It's your bestie, Miss Westy. Don't try to test me or it's gonna get messy. All right, let's see. Alright, where am I? Cool. So happy that those two edge cases there worked. Now continuing on, I will now do this lowercase. So if it's, length 2 or more, we're going to go ahead and lower the string. And then now I'm going to initialize my pointer. So I'm going to say left pointer equals 0, right pointer, and that's for index 0, right pointer equals length of title minus 1, because basically if we're doing this NASA example, we want the left pointer to be at that capital A, the last A in NASA. Okay. All right, excelente. Now I'm going to start my while loop, which was line 20. Use while loop to loop through the string while left pointer is less than or equal to the right pointer. Okay, so while less than while left pointer less than or equal to right pointer, Okay, so if, now I gotta get the index. So, let me see. Gotta remember how to get indexes for strings. I think, me thinky is that I use title. Let me see if this is the correct syntax to get the actual char at index 0. So let's test that. Why is it returning a capital A if I lowered my string? I mean, that's what I expected to return. Oh, because I didn't use lower title. I use regular title. I need to use lowercase title. Okay. Baby girl, it worked. Okay. Now, so I'm going to take this syntax here and put that inside my while loop. If, okay, so basically if the character at index 0 equals the character at the right pointer if that is true, let me get that out. If that's true, what do we say? If the characters are the same, oh great, so 24 through 26, I want to increment the left pointer, decrement the right pointer. Okay, so I'm going to say left pointer plus equal 1, right pointer minus equal 1. Okay. And else, if they're not the same, we are going to return false. And then outside of everything, we're going to return true because it must be a palindrome. Now I'm going to run it and I expect a true because I'm running the asyntat and that's the test case. False? What? Okay, that's not good. So I ran it and it returned false. What is going on here? So let me do some print statements within this while loop. Let me actually print this lowercase title left pointer, and I also want to print, let's do it like this. I want to make sure it's doing SS. So let's see. Lowercase title, right pointer. All right, let's print and see what we get. Oh, but it's not continuing. That's the problem. Okay, so when I run the while loop, I get AA, but it's not constantly going. Oh, Oh my gosh. Okay. The problem is in my while conditional. So the left pointer is always going to be, well, no. Okay. While the left pointer is less than the right pointer. So for some reason, my loop is just iterating through once and it's not constantly iterating through. So what I want to do is I want to see if my left pointer and what my left pointer and right pointer values are after I do this incrementing and decrementing. So let me print left pointer. I'm expecting 1 after that, and let me print the right pointer, and I'm actually print right pointer, and I'm actually expecting a, what's the length of this string? Oh, you know what I think it is? I need to remove the spaces. Okay, so let me, if you don't mind, are you okay with me looking up the syntax for removing the spaces from a string? Thank you. Totally slipped my mind. All right, I do remember that it is possible to do that. And let's see here. Okay, so let's see, how do we remove spaces from a string? Ah, here it is. Okay, so I can replace spaces with no spaces. So I'm going to actually do that right after I lower it. So right after I lower the case, I'm going to go ahead and use lowercase title dot replace. So essentially I'm replacing spaces in the left argument with no spaces in the right argument, and just so I don't have to redo everything. I want to just still call it lowercase title. I hope that's okay. Yeah, actually I think I can still call both lowercase title. Okay. Yeah, this honestly should work now. It honestly should work. Let me comment out the debugging statements. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to run the test case again for a sense at NASA, and I should get true. Index out of range. Okay, I got an index error, string index out of range, and it's for this right pointer right here. So maybe the decrementing is not happening. All right, let me, what I'm going to do is test the values of the left and right pointer. I do expect the right pointer to print, actually, let me see what this lowercase title looks like now that I both lowered and replaced. So print lowercase title. Okay, excellent. It does remove, so it's exactly as I expected. It removes the the spaces and it's lowercase. And there is actually a test case that I need to add, and that was the one if there was like a random extra S in between. So let me do that. Like if there was just like a S there, that is still a palindrome. It's still symmetric. Okay. So great, that's printing what I expected to print. So we're good there. And so that means I want to test out here. So let me print and see what the left and right pointer are doing. Okay, I'm still getting the error. Part of me feels like it is likely a syntax issue. Maybe not. I'm gonna do this print statement here outside of the while loop, and I want to see what I'm getting. I expect A. That's what I expect. Okay, again, it's saying it's out of range. This is strange. Really strange here. It's saying this right pointer is out of range. Okay, fine. Let me print right pointer. Okay, so I get 14. So when I print length of list, I'm expecting to get 16. So I'm going to print length of title. No, I should get 15, sorry. When I print length of title, I'm expecting 15. Okay, excellent. So next, just to make sure I'm not using incorrect syntax, we're trying to access the character at index 14. I want to actually test out grabbing the index. So I want to print lowercase title. Yeah, maybe for strings I use parentheses. It just doesn't seem right, but I'll try it. Okay, if this is the correct syntax, I'm expecting an A. Okay, that's wrong syntax. So let's go back to the brackets. Try it again. Yeah, this is really weird. Okay, so at this point, because I'm stuck here, are you okay if I Google the syntax for accessing an element, add a character, add a string in Python? Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to Google here, access char in string in Python. Comes right up, and strings are zero-based indexing, so I'm actually looking at a Stack Overflow article, how to get char from index by a string. Okay, it's just as simple as the string title and the value. So it's not really making sense to me. So if I said print lowercase title 14, let's see if I get a here. Still out of range. This is perplexing, to be honest. I'm going to try. Everything I do is out of range. Hmm. 54 seconds. Okay. Let me try if I do 0. Okay, that works. If I do 7. That works. Okay. So something's going. Oh my goodness, I said length of title at line 41 when it's length of lowercase lowercase title. OMG. Okay, now we should work. Few seconds left. Let me see. Okay, I'm just gonna run it. Syntax error. Oh, I need to get rid of this. Okay. It returned true. Okay, thank you so much. All right. I cannot believe that. I didn't get to test my other test cases, but the A Santa at NASA returned true, which it should have returned true. Let me know your thoughts and feedback in the comments. Hello, Naveen. Thanks for win forever. Honestly need like a mental break. What's so interesting is like doing these mock interviews. Yeah, like basically doing these mock interviews. It's a similar, like the same nerves you would feel if I were in an actual interview, which is great to be under this time pressure to try to figure stuff out, to always be talking out loud, which the reason I'm talking so much is that professors of mine who have worked in industry are like, in your technical interviews, you need to always be talking. Always invite the interviewer into your brain and your thought process. So that's why you guys hear me just talking nonstop. That is very, very intentional and how it should be. Hey, Nikhil, welcome. You're a beginner in Python. Okay, yes. Cool. I am also a beginner in Python as well. And the very first coding language I learned was Java. And I tried to do coding assessments, online assessments in Java. Not good. And so it was recommended to me by instructors and mentors to do Python. So do all the coding assessments in Python. So that's when I started learning Python. And it's so much better. I totally get why. It's just, Python is really, really simple. It's like as close to pseudocode, like literally writing things out as it's like, yeah, it's super simple. So that's why all my coding interviews will be in Python. And so it's really good that you are learning Python, especially if you want to pass the coding interviews. It's good to do it in Python. It's much, much simpler. Much simpler. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my second question here. Question number 2. And then, so the point of this is that the point of this is for people who are beginners at either Python or LeetCode. So people who are kind of on the LeetCode easy level to do these problems along with me. So, let's see, next problem number 5. Okay. So ideally how it will work is, so if you have, let's say, a 60-minute interview, you want to spend, this is what my instructor said, is that you want to spend 5 minutes doing like introducing yourself, so maybe talking about projects you've done, talking about like some key features of projects that you've built, and like maybe a key feature that really stood out to you or that you're really proud of in one of your projects, and some challenges that you ran into and how you kind of fixed or debugged to make some things work. And so you want to spend like 5 minutes on your intro. Then my instructor says, and then from there, you want to spend, let's say, if it's a 60-minute interview, you're going to spend about 45 minutes on actually like doing the process that I'm doing. So planning, understanding, writing your pseudocode, and then going into the actual coding. And then the last 10 minutes is for, I think maybe like discussion or debugging or something like that, but more so like discussion and going over. So you really should be done within 45 minutes if you're given like a 60-minute interview. If the interview is 45 minutes, the problem should be solved in 30 minutes. So, all right, so we're going to go into question number 2. Again, this is all stacks and queues today. So get ready, code along as well, compare your solution to mine. Be like, oh, I wouldn't have did it that way. Ideally, I would like to be able to, within this 45 minutes, share the solution, but didn't get around to that within the session. So, all right, going into the next one. All right. Thank you so much for allowing me to introduce myself. Now I am going into the problem, and I'm just going to start by reading it out loud. And all right, so let's see here. Okay, you want to make sure your posts are clean and professional. Given a string post of lowercase and uppercase English letters, you want to remove any pairs of adjacent characters where one is the lowercase version of a letter and the other is the uppercase version of the same letter. Keep removing such pairs until the post is clean. Okay, a clean post does not have two adjacent characters where post I is lowercase and the next is the same letter in uppercase or vice versa. Return the clean post. Note that an empty string is also considered clean. Okay, so I'm going to read it again silently to myself if that's okay, and then just jot down some things on my iPad as I'm reading through. Okay, so clean, goal is clean and professional. Clean and professional post. Okay. Given a string of lowercase and uppercase English letters. So in our test case, we were given P-O, capital O, lowercase O-S-T. Okay. I want to remove any pairs of adjacent characters, okay, where one is lowercase and the other is uppercase of the same letter. Okay, so if we have two back-to-back letters, an unclean post essentially is a string that has two back-to-back characters, and they are of different cases. So, okay, so if okay, you want to remove any pairs of adjacent characters where one is a lowercase version of a letter and the other is the uppercase version of the same letter. Okay, so So I'm going to jot down the conditions here. So conditions for removal. All right, conditions for removal. Adjacent letters that are the same. Okay. Adjacent, same, and then one upper case and one is lowercase. One is uppercase and one is lowercase. All right, let's see here. Okay, keep removing such pairs until the post is clean. Okay, so any pair that like this, so remove all pairs. We're going to remove the entire pair. Okay, remove entire pair, and the fact that it tells me to like keep removing all of these pairs until the post is clean lets me know that I'm going to use some type of loop. Okay, and then okay, so I'm going to remove all pairs like this. Okay. A clean post does not have two adjacent characters where one is lowercase and the same letter is uppercase or vice versa. Note that an empty string is also considered clean. And then, so what are we returning? Oh, return the clean post. Okay. All right, now I'm going to look at the test cases and see if I understand why we returned that. So looking at this first test case here, we need to remove this and this. And so we should get POST. In this one, we're going to remove that. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. So each time we remove that pair, we go back and see if there's another pair to remove. So in this test case, it actually returns an empty string. And here, that's a clean post because there are no back-to-back. Okay. All right, I think I understand this. Let me look at some of the hints. Okay, how do we know which data structure and algorithm to use when solving this problem? Should we use a stack, a queue, two-pointer, none of the above? For this problem, a stack would be a good choice. Because we're checking for the balance. Interesting. Okay, I did not recognize this as a balance problem, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's interesting. So like so in that case, if we're thinking about it from the perspective of is this string balanced or is this pair balanced? The opening tag would be like lowercase, for example, and the closing tag would be uppercase or vice versa. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to think about how that plays into this. Okay, a stack would be a good choice because we're checking for the balance of pairs of symbols. Checking and removing pairs. As we traverse the string, we can look at each letter one by one. If the letter we're looking at can pair up with the last letter you added to the stack, we can remove that last letter from the stack. This is like taking the top plate off the pile. If it doesn't form a pair, we can add the new letter on the top of the stack, like putting, okay, rechecking after removal. After we remove a pair, the stack might have a new top letter that could potentially form another pair with the next letter we examine. A stack allows us to handle this smoothly because we only ever look at the top of the stack and the next letter. Interesting. For more information about, okay, let's look here. How do we check if we have a lower and uppercase? There are many possible ways to accomplish this. Okay. All right. Let me, what I'm going to do is just write out my understanding here and check with you if my understanding is accurate. Okay. So my understanding is I am going to check if the string, or essentially remove adjacent characters that are the same character and have different cases. Okay, so remove all adjacent characters that are, I'm going to say A, the same character, and B, was that my only condition? Okay, they're adjacent, they're the same, and they have different cases. We're going to remove all of those. Excuse me. Okay, need to wake up. Okay, remove all adjacent characters that are the same and have different cases. Okay. And then we're going to return string with these removed. Okay, that is my understanding. Is that in alignment with how I should be interpreting or understanding this problem? Okay, thank you. And so I'm going to think about some of the test cases here. So go ahead and just copy that in, and the test cases that were provided to me were as follows. It's so hot. I'm sorry. It is like so hot in New York City today. It's been like, if you know what it feels like, do you ever just, okay, imagine, sorry, like sidebar. Imagine you open an oven. Say you preheated the oven to 400. And the oven's been preheating for a good 30 minutes. And then you open up the oven and stick your face in it. That's what it feels like outside. That's exactly what it feels like. And it's been like this for like some days. It's so hot. Okay. All right. Return string with these removed. Okay. So now let's go into, oh, we were talking about edge cases. Sorry. So you mentioned in the problem that an empty string is also considered clean. So I'm going to go through these test cases and just write down what I should be returning. So with this one, it should return post. With this one, it's actually going to return an empty string. Okay. With this one, it's just one character, so that is clean. So it's going to return S. And the other was just an empty string, which is also clean, so it will just return an empty string. And let me just take a quick second here to see if there are any other test cases that I might want to consider, or any edge cases. Okay, we've captured an empty string. Okay, I think I'm pretty satisfied. I'm pretty satisfied here. Okay. So now I'm going to move into my planning phase and think about my pseudocode here. All right, now I'm going to go back and look here. So the hint given mentions using a stack. Okay, so let's think through that approach. Okay, so I'm going to draw my stack here, and I know that my stack is literally like a stack of plates, so it's last in, first out, which they call LIFO. Last in, first out. And let me just put post here and just see. Okay, so I'll take a look at the hint again. Okay, as we traverse the string, we can look at each letter one by one. If the letter we're looking at can pair up with the last letter. Okay, so let's say we're iterating through a string. So let's say we're doing for post. We're gonna pop post, and we're gonna pop P, and we're gonna put P in the stack. So we're gonna push P to stack, P to stack. And then, oh, that's interesting. Wonder how that'll work. Okay, because I push P to the stack, and then what's going on in my mind now is I'm thinking about how I'm comparing adjacent letters inside of this for loop if I'm using a stack. So what I'm thinking is, okay, so I pushed P to the stack. Do I push everything to the stack? Like, and then if that's the case, what's the point of the stack? Okay, so if the letter we're looking at compare up to the last letter you added to the stack, we can remove that last letter from the stack. Okay, let me read this again. Checking and removing pairs. As we traverse the string, we can look at each letter one by one, okay? If the letter we're looking at can pair up with the last letter you added to the stack. This is the part that gets confusing because are we not adding every single letter to the stack? Wow. Wow. All right. This is similar to the problem of this is similar to, I'm actually going to check this last problem here, which is valid form post, where is valid post format, where I added opening and closing tags. We were checking if the tags were balanced, and I added that to, I used the stack to implement that algorithm. So I'm going to look at this algorithm to see see how I implemented it. So I have here in line 8 for char and post, if char in opening tags, my stack, trying to just understand what I did here. So post was, okay. So I iterated through. If it was an opening tag, I pushed it to the stack. Okay. I pinned it to the stack. If it was not an opening tag, so if it was a closing tag, as long as the stack was not empty, I popped. So maybe I can do it by, okay, maybe I can push things to the stack that are uppercase. So maybe I can say something like, if is upper, push to the stack. So let me just conceptually draw that out. So if I were to use that approach, I would not be pushing everything to the stack. So I would say, I would go through this for loop here. Okay, here is my, okay, so I would go through this for loop and I would ask, is upper, is char upper? Okay, oops. All right, so I'm gonna actually say for char in P, okay, for char in that, and then I want to say if char is upper, I'm going to push it to the stack. Push to stack. Okay, so in this case, the first item on the stack would be capital O. Okay, the first item on the stack would be capital O. And then somehow, gosh, okay. So and somehow I need to say, now next I move to lowercase o. And somehow if this O is the same type of character as what was before it or after it. Ooh, this is interesting. This one's kind of tough. Okay. Let me read the hint again. Checking and removing pairs. As we traverse the string, we can look at each letter one by one. If the letter we're looking at can pair up to the last letter, you add it to the stack. See, where I find that challenging and a difficult to understand is, okay, so if the letter we're looking at compare it with the last letter on the stack, that assumes that we're not adding every letter to the stack, and it doesn't, to me, I'm not understanding how this approach given accounts for if there's a lowercase letter before, like exactly what we have in a test case where we have lowercase o, uppercase, and lowercase. So I'll tell you what I am thinking. What I'm thinking is, when I get to an uppercase letter, I'm going to put it on the stack. And then I want to ask, somehow, is this letter the same as what was before it or after it? But since Python will recognize uppercase O and lowercase o as two different letters, I almost need to make big O lowercase and then say, are you the same as what was before and after? I just think that is just going so overboard. And part of me feels like, because we're working with pairs, that I need to maybe be using like tuples or something that works with pairs. And so almost in my mind, I'm thinking, I wish there was a way to say, find all pairs. Find all pairs. Do you mind if I take a look at just my cheat sheet and look at some different syntax and methods, like at tuples, and see if that's something that I can implement to remove pairs of similar characters? Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to take a look. Let's see. It does say that the two-pointer technique is commonly used to find pairs or triplets, but the hint suggests that stacks is the best data structure to use for this problem. I do kind of agree that I like a two-pointer approach. I feel like I kind of know how to use that, but I definitely want to stick with and try implementing it using a stack. Okay. All right. So since I'm a bit stuck, since I am stuck, I'm going to take the approach I talked about with popping from the stack, doing a dot lower, seeing if it's the same as front and backwards. It is not, I think, the most optimized solution, but it's the one that I can think of, and I'll just proceed with implementing that way. Is that an approach that you would proceed with, or would you try implementing it a different way? Okay, thank you. So I will proceed to implement using the approach. So just on my iPad here, I've pushed the, if it's in uppercase, I'm going to push it to the stack. And then I want to pop it from stack. I just don't think that makes sense then. Why am I even pushing it on the stack? Oh, maybe if it is upper, I lower it just for a moment. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of just get rid of this stack concept for a moment and just think about it without using the stack. Okay, so if the chart is in uppercase, if it's upper, I'm going to lower it. That was hard to say. Lower it, and then see if it is equal. Is it equal? I'm so used to using GoodNotes where I can just use a circle to erase, but okay. Okay, so if it's equal to char at previous index, if if it's equal to the char at the previous index, then remove. And I know we do have a like some sort of remove mechanism, so I'm going to remove both indexes, slash chars. Okay. And then I'm going to also say, I also need a way to say if it's I kind of need a else to say, okay, so we're going to compare, and if we have this test case of, if we have this test case here, I need a way to say, so we've compared little o and big O, and I need a way to say if little o is not the same alphabet as this one, now I need to check if this little o after it is the same as this one, but in a way that doesn't cause an error trying to remove two things at once. Oh, I guess I can say else, maybe else if if char 9 minutes. Okay, if char is equal to if char is equal to the index after it, remove the pair. Okay. I also need to be removing in a way that modifies the existing string, because once it's all said and done, I need to return what's remaining in that string. All right, I'm going to take the approach that I wrote down here. So, and this time I just wrote my pseudocode on the tablet, so I won't do it here, but I'm going to move directly into, so I'm just going to do the implementation on the screen and not spend time transferring my pseudocode over. So my very first step is I'm going to say, I'm going to cover the test cases of the empty string, and if it is only one, character. So if post is less than or equal to 1, return post. So that should capture, that should honestly capture actually these two, the bottom two. Okay, so I should get S, and I should get just an empty string when I run it. I did not. Oh, length.post. I think I'm sleepy. Okay. Length of post. Now I think I am very sleepy. Okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, so we took care of those two test cases. And now I'm going to say for char in post. For char in post. And I get confused sometimes if it prints. I think this one is actually just going to print not the index but the actual character. Okay, it does. Okay, it prints the letter. So for char in post, if char is upper. That is not correct syntax. Definitely not. I think I need to say if char okay. Let me just look here at some of my syntax. Is upper. Okay. Are you okay if I look up the syntax for how to check if in Python if a character is uppercase? Thank you. So let me see. I'm just typing how to check if character is uppercase Python. Here it is. Oh, okay. Is upper is a built-in function. Is upper. So it looks like, but that's weird. So I wonder if that's how it's used. I'm just going to look at Stack Overflow. Okay, so that is the proper syntax. Char dot is upper. Okay, excellent. So if char dot is upper, I actually want to, if char is upper, I actually want to make it lowercase for a second to compare it. So I'm going to say char dot lower. I want to lower it, and I want to say if char dot lower equals the character before it. So if it equals, oh, I think I need to iterate through key and index, or through, I need to use enumerate. Porque necesito iterate through both. I need the index essentially. So index char enumerate. I think this is how we do it. And just real quickly to make sure that's the right syntax for the for loop, I want to say Let me just print index comma char. See if that's the right ordering. Okay, so it prints. Oh, it does exactly what I expected to do. Perfect, because it prints 0 for P, 1, so that's the index. So, okay. Excelente. Okay. So if, now I'm going to check if char.lower is equal to the value at index minus 1. But the problem that we would run into is if we would hit an out of bounds if the uppercase was the very first character. So in that case, I would have to say if char is not, oh gosh, this is going to be so messy with these if statements. But I'm going to say if index is not 0, then proceed, not equal to 0, meaning that we're not dealing with something that's at the first index. Oh gosh, 10 seconds. Okay. What was I going to do here? If char.lower equals, okay. All right. Thank you so much for this interview. Bye. All right, you guys. So you see, I did not finish that question, but that is okay. I've gotten feedback time and time again from mentors and teachers that it's not the worst thing if you don't finish a problem. They really want to hear your thought process and hear how you think through things. It's not necessarily the worst thing if you don't get it right. Obviously, it would be ideal if you hit all checkpoints, meaning you get the question right, you actually finish the question, and you do a great job with talking through and explaining your thought process. But that's why we're journeying and learning together. All right, so you guys, I'm going to end for today. Let me know in the comments if this type of format is helpful. Obviously, it's a new format that I'm trying. Previously, I was doing just like showing my screen, but so many people were like, or I was just like showing my desk, but so many people were like, we want to see your screen. Let me see your screen. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just invite you guys into actually what I am doing on screen, which this is what I'm doing on screen. Thanks for watching. If there are no comments, go ahead and subscribe. Turn on notifications. I will go live again tomorrow at 9 p.m. Yes, I'll do live at 9 p.m. tomorrow. And if there are no further comments, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.